All right. You want to get into our new toys?
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm excited.
All right. I'm going to
Of
start
course,
grabbing some stuff.
of course
You're not recording.
I'm recording on mine, so.
Oh, okay. Well, of course you can't. I was wondering, yeah, you sent the Canon back already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As I drop a lens cap already.
Uh-oh.
Whatever. I'm not going to go diving for a lens cap.
There you go.
There's no way. Oh, okay. But anyway, so, I figured that we should talk about this segment because, as reviewers, we have been pretty hard on L mounts. Actually, no. We've been fair on L mount.
Mm-hmm.
L mount has just had to get itself together. And we have decided that, it's actually about time that we start buying into it. So, Brett was on the market for a new camera. He went L mount, and at the same time, I decided I was going L mount as well too. For transparency, um, both of us can shoot without anything. So can Hillary. Doesn't really matter. You put it in our hands, it's fine. I'm recording with Sony right now. I usually end up buying into a couple of key camera systems just because it's easier for us to then get review units. For example, like let's say a new a Fujifilm lens is coming out soon. I own an X Pro 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a current body. I also own the XH1 and the X Pro 1. So I do keep older bodies around as well too because it helps with testing. And I usually upgrade like every other generation. I owned the Sony A7 original. Then
Mm-hmm.
I got the A7R Mark III. The A7R Mark IV, I thought didn't make any sense. Even when I use it, when I was reviewing the 50mm f1.2, I still was just like, yeah, no, I
Yep.
made the right decision not buying this thing. So I usually wait a generation and then I upgrade. I have the EOS R, trying to figure out if I should get the EOS R5, but either way, yes, we decided that we would go into L mount. I bought the Leica SL2S. Partially because I very much like Leicas. And in addition to that, it's a beast of a camera.
Mm-hmm.
These things are IP rated, meaning they're incredibly durable and incredibly well weather sealed. Um, I've done some horrific things to this camera in terms of weather sealing, and it survived. I decided I would buy the Panasonic 8518 because it's so affordable. Um, got it on a good deal on Amazon, and Brett's currently reviewing it right now. It's
Yep.
incredibly small, very fast on the SL2S. And then in addition to that, too, Sigma a while ago sent me a 45mm f2.8 special edition that was uncoated in silver. It's nice. This is actually a lens that I mostly use for like recording video, because it's so small, and
Mm-hmm.
otherwise everything else is just so front heavy with this. And then I have the chunker, the 24 to 70 2.8 that I bought from Sigma, and it's also a great lens. I don't know, it's very heavy, and I'm a person that doesn't usually buy zoom lenses, and when I got this, I was like, "Ooh, man," very useful, very good quality. Focuses fairly fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I'm a guy that usually when I'm walking around, I'm like, I don't really know if I want something this heavy on me. And unfortunately, the contemporary lens, the 45, isn't fully weather sealed. So I walked around with this today. It was pretty
Mm-hmm.
nice. But L mount overall, at least for me, like it's getting there. It's still not perfect.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's definitely not up to say Canon or Sony in terms of autofocus performance, but the latest updates, especially I bought the Panasonic S5. Um, it's a 24 megapixel camera, like we were just talking about before. It's for around $2,000. It's at that sweet price point, so that's what I picked up. Um, a lot gets said about the DFD autofocusing system, but honestly, I've had zero issues with it. But yeah, it's still a work in progress, right? I think it got announced in 2018. I think late 2018, early 2019.
The S5?
No, just L mount in general.
Oh,
I think it was 2018.
Yeah, I don't remember when the SL came out, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's been out for a little while, and I think Sigma, Leica, and Panasonic are still kind of trying to figure things out. But it's at a point now where you can dive into this system and get a very good setup.
Absolutely. And I think part of that is because there's so much of a lens selection already.
Hmm.
Like that's a major problem for a lot of camera manufacturers. Like Nikon doesn't have as many lenses, Canon doesn't have as many lenses. But here, Panasonic has a bunch, Leica had a bunch.
Hmm.
Sigma decided they would take a whole bunch of their DSLR lenses and then adapt them over, but
Yep.
they've also made a whole bunch that are specifically for mirrorless.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. All of the DGDN lenses that came out for Sony E mount have been converted over to L mount now, and they work fantastic. I've bought in heavily into Sigma lenses since I've had this. I'm being filmed on the 24 to 72.8 right now. It's doing a fantastic job. I got the 14 to 24 2.8 and the 100 to 400, and that's pretty much going to be my whole kit. And I have the 85 1.8 as well for when I do portraits. But the great thing, the thing that drew me to this system, Chris, is yeah, it's definitely the lenses. I was looking at Canon. Canon lenses are still really expensive. They're starting to bring out those cheaper lenses now, the f2s and the f1.8s. Nikon lenses are still kind of pricey. But with the Sigma lenses, I mean, you can go out and get fantastic deals on these lenses, and they're just going to do a solid job for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, I mean, those are some great pluses about it. What is kind of weird as well too, and if you're a Micro Four Thirds shooter,
Hmm.
you'll probably really understand this. With Panasonic and Olympus, and I've grilled Panasonic and Olympus on this before, when they're sharing the same mount, and they shared a couple other things, like they shared the same hot shoe.
Hmm.
And I guess it really sort of made no sense because if you put Panasonic lenses on Olympus cameras, they would be slow.
Hmm.
And if you put Olympus lenses on Panasonic cameras, they would be slow. So I always just had this idea that like the two systems are trying to screw each other over in some way or another. And when Element was announced, I pressed Panasonic on this. I was like, "So you guys aren't going to try to all screw each other over, right?" And they were like, "No. What Element specifically is we share autofocus algorithms, exposure algorithms, and we share the mount." I'm like, "Cool. That makes a lot of sense." Um, I haven't really seen screwing each other over. What I have gotten from an explanation as to why, like, uh, one lens won't be as fast on one camera as it will be on another is because of the motors that are being used. So Panasonic has told us that like their motors, they're very good motors. Um, Leica at one point was probably using some older motors, but with their 28 millimeter f2 that just came out, that thing
Hmm.
is super fast. It's a very fast motor. Sigma, I guess it really varies because we've seen problems as well when we're using Sigma lenses.
Definitely.
Um, but I still wonder because, like, for example, there have been times where like Leica lenses I've seen are faster on Panasonic bodies. So I'm wondering about what's going on with like the actual autofocus algorithms being done there.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's still usable. Like I can still sometimes do like candid stuff with these lenses and these bodies. I haven't done a whole lot of it yet. But we're gonna see more. Um, you were about to say?
I was going to say, yeah, it's probably it's nothing probably more than just a firmware issue and getting those things, the gremlins taken out of the firmware to get them all talking nicely with each other.
Yeah. In addition to that, too, something that is pretty much annoying me is uh no one sharing a hot shoe, and there's
Yeah.
three brands at this point. So Sigma has their own flashes. I don't know why. Like personally speaking, I don't really know why they still make cameras. We've talked about this before.
Hmm.
Um, Panasonic is still using Olympus's. That's cool. So when it came to like working with Pro Photo and other brands, they still have the hot shoe, so it's easy. Leica has their own hot shoe, and they haven't worked with any professional brands. And I've really wondered about that. It's like, okay, there's Broncolor,
Hmm.
there's Pro Photo,
Yep.
And there's all those other brands out there that are like cheaper, like Flashpoint that's run by Adorama and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
You got Elinchrom as well on the higher end as too.
Yes, yes. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Hmm.
And they don't work with any of those companies, but like they've had a medium format system for so long. And I don't understand why they've never tried to partner up with other big lighting companies.
Yeah, that makes 0 sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would make a lot more sense to have like, Profoto TTL with this camera system because then you
Hmm.
can use it like for photojournalism, you can use it in the studio a lot easier. And a lot of folks might say, "Oh, well, you can set it up manually." Yes, but that makes things so much more complicated. Like there
Hmm.
are times when manual flash output makes a lot of sense. But then there are also a lot of times where TTL makes so much more sense. Weddings, events, parties,
Yep.
sometimes on location shoots.
Yeah, anytime you're in a time crunch and you just need that little extra bit of assistance to get things done, you need it.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's really problematic, then you shoot an image and then it's like, okay, cool, this is what it looks like. Let me shoot another one just to make sure that it's fully synced. Okay.
Hmm.
Let me control the TTL. Okay, it's still wacky. Let's switch to manual. And in that case, then you bring out maybe a light meter or something like that, or you start at
Yep.
a quarter power or a 16th or something like that, and then you modify from there. Um, but Leica doesn't have that, and that's a little annoying to me. Especially because I have the Profoto B10.
Do you think they will in future?
I hope. I've given that feedback to them.
Hmm.
I've given feedback to them on that. Multiple exposure, they don't have that, but Panasonic does.
Right.
Panasonic is the only full frame, especially with the S5, that has live composite. That's
Hmm.
huge.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Sigma's doing a killer job with some of their color profiles. Like, for example, the teal and orange profile. I really
Hmm.
adore that. There is supposed to be like firmware that's coming to Leica, and I believe one of the requests was to because there's this thing with their video where there's a cinematic LUT that's supposed to make the image quality look like cinematic Kodak film. And I was
Gotcha.
like, I wonder if they can do that with stills. Apparently that's some feedback that they've received. I hope that comes.
That would be cool.
It would be fantastic.
Yeah,
I
that'd
mean,
be
it would
great.
make things look totally different.
Hmm.
Be a great reason to buy the camera.
Definitely. Standout
Um,
feature.
Leica doesn't have a sensor cleaning mechanism, unfortunately. Yeah, I've only ever gotten the sensor dirty once. And actually, this is the first time ever using a Leica that I've ever gotten the sensor dirty, and I was just like, "Huh, why isn't there no self-cleaning mechanism?" So
Yeah,
they have
that's
a couple
weird.
things that they have to work on. Other than that, some people just complain that like the back LCD on this,
Hmm.
like it doesn't flip up, but I've learned to be okay with it. I've learned to, years ago we used to do this thing where like you just did a Hail Mary and you
Yeah,
shoot. And that's been kind of fun, doing that again, but also live view, it's like, "Okay, cool, I can do that with live view."
exactly.
Um, I mean, I totally understand also not wanting to do anything to the screen because, otherwise you jeopardize the full build quality of it, and the whole thing's metal.
I was going to say it'll probably affect the IP rating if they put
Yeah.
a tilt screen in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I completely understand that.
Hmm.
And if you want something as durable as that, uh, then you can't really mess with that IP rating.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a huge selling point for that camera.
yeah. Um, what I also think is pretty fantastic for it is, for example, I feel like we're going through this 35 millimeter lens renaissance right
Hmm.
now, and L mount has a whole ton of them. Like, I believe there's probably a 35 f1.8 from Panasonic coming. I think they
Yep,
put that on their roadmap.
it's on the roadmap.
Yeah. Leica has a 35 millimeter f2 that is huge, but then when you understand like why it's that big because
Hmm.
there's so many spherical elements in it, I get it.
Yep, absolutely.
Sigma has a 35 millimeter f2. They have the 35 millimeter f1.4 that they adapted over,
Yep.
and there's a 35 millimeter f1.2, which is also a chonker.
Oh, that's a big boy.
Yeah, it's too big for me
Yep.
personally. I'd be okay with a 1.8 or a 1.4 just weather sealed.
Hmm.
There's also a whole ton of 50 millimeter lenses. Leica has two. They have 51.4, which is one of my favorites, and then 50mm f2. There is a Sigma 51.2 f1.4 art.
Hmm.
Uh, do they have a contemporary? I don't think they do. They have a 45.
Yeah, I know it's not a 50, but they did just release the 65 on iSeries
Yeah,
F2. Yeah,
yeah,
close.
yeah. And then for 85s, there's the old Sigma 85. There's a new Sigma 85.
Hmm.
There is the Panasonic
Yep.
that we have. And then there's other portrait focal lengths too. There's a 75 from Leica that's beautiful.
Yep, absolutely.
There's also, I believe there's a 90 f2 that's also pretty nice. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of variations, and I think part of that comes from, Panasonic and Sigma trying to be more traditional in some ways, and Leica
Hmm.
trying to be more traditional to what they've had before with focal lengths. So I adore that.
In a lot of ways, this system's setting itself up for so many different demographics because you can buy into the L mount system and buy cheaper Sigma lenses, and then you could step up and then you could go up into the Panasonic lenses, which are a little bit more expensive than the Sigmas. And then when you're ready to go up even higher, you can jump right into those beautiful Leica lenses.
Yeah, absolutely. And those Leica lenses are pricey, don't get me wrong, but
Hmm.
they're also worth it in many ways. Like I remember I was I put this Panasonic on. I think I talked to you about it when you were
Yeah.
on a ladder the other day. I was like, "Man, this Panasonic is lacking a lot of character, like compared to the images that you got. I wonder what's going on." And he was like, "I don't know, man. Like maybe it's your copy." And I was like, "I don't know. I guess I'm just so used to like using this Leica that there's so much character and it's
Hmm.
beautiful. It's like, oh man,
Yeah,
uh,
you can get
you're
lens spoiled.
that yeah, we're spoiled."
Yeah, absolutely. But on the flip side of that, it's nice to have so many different options that you can just jump into.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's check the chats really quickly. Over here, nothing. On Facebook, uh APS-CDM format? Oh. John was joking about the
APS
size
medium.
of medium format.
Hmm.
Ivan saying I have a D800E. How's your opinion? Old. Um,
But still
36.
capable. Yeah.
Yeah, still capable. 36 megapixels. Yeah.
Hmm.
Chris, do you have the SL2 or the SL2S? I have the SL2S. Um, lower megapixels, more affordable, faster to focus, which is very critical for me.
Hmm.
Um, and also a little more versatile as well too. Cinematic stuff is a little important to me for like personal stuff. Um, and also being able to have that faster read write thing with SD cards, dual SD card slots. I really love this thing, honestly. Like
Definitely.
I haven't really touched very many other cameras except for this thing. That's okay. It's fun being spoiled.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Chris. Andrew, Sony RX1R has had a wonderful 35mm f2 for years. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. That thing is wonderful. Chris is saying she's asking me to show it, so let me do that. Also, so this is the SL2S, and you can tell it's the SL2S because this is all blacked out. Let's see. Can you sort of get the glint?
Yeah, we got it. It's perfect right there.
Yeah, right there. It's beautiful. It's wider going this way for sure, but going this way, it's actually not so wide. Even though there's this giant grip, it feels really nice. I'm a guy that doesn't really like heavy cameras, but like I was realizing this camera, it's not so heavy. It is a little large, but
Mhm.
when you put a lighter lens on it, it's pretty okay. And usually when I go around shooting, I have it slung around me like this. Let me put a 45 f2.8 on here. You have the giant lenses, Brett.
Yeah, yeah. I've got some of the big Sigma ones, the Bigmas.
You have them around?
Um, this is the 100 to 400 with the teleconverter on the end of it right
Jeez.
there. Take that off there real quick. So there is your 100 to 400, which of course is externally zooming. go.
Can you put
But
it next to your head?
yeah,
Jeez,
there you go. How's
bigger than
that?
your head.
But you know what? It's super light. It's a contemporary model. It's got some weather sealing. It's still super light. It's manageable. You can handhold it. I've been handholding it at 800 millimeters with the teleconverter. No problem.
How much coffee have you had in you when you do that?
Not enough.
This is the 45. When I take that off, it comes even smaller.
Oh wow!
Looks very classic.
I love that look.
Yeah, it's not weather seal. Well, it's weather sealed only at the mount.
Uh,
So if you want to give it a little bit more weather sealing, you put a filter on the front, and that's what I
mhm.
did. Um, Aperture ring. So yeah, no, it is pretty nice. It's very lightweight, fairly fast to focus. You got another one there, Brett?
Yeah, this is the 14 to 24 from Sigma. 2.8. It is a bulbous front element. I do have the filters that slip into the back from Haida. So you can use filters with it. Again, it balances just fine on the S5. I have no issues with it.
Mm-hmm. And here's the Sigma 24 to 70, another chunky one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, it's starting to rain in New York.
I hear it.
Yeah, quite hard.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it. That's pretty crazy.
I did not know it was going to rain that hard. So this is it, the 24 to 70. Very versatile, obviously, and one of the reasons why I bought it. It's got a soft lock here
Mm-hmm.
that you can just like do that with. I wish it were a hard lock.
Yeah.
I was comparing it to the Panasonic. Uh, this is smaller than the Panasonic. It's
Yep.
heavier than the Panasonic though. Um, Probably has better image quality than the Panasonic, if I'm going to be honest as well.
Yeah, probably.
But
So.
I can't really complain about the system. It's a lot to learn because the system is totally different than others. It's
Mm-hmm.
not fully touchscreen or anything else like that. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple. And also, once you rewire the buttons to do exactly
Mm-hmm.
what you want it to do, it becomes very second nature. So that's pretty fantastic. I actually really like the thing.
Yeah, good.
Again, as I was saying, I haven't really been using any other cameras except if I absolutely need to.
And that says a lot, really, when you have so many cameras around and that's the one that is inspiring you to go out and shoot. That's a huge deal for any camera, I think.
Yeah,
If it can inspire you to pick it up and take it out over anything else, it's a win.
yeah. Yesterday I was shooting with a lot of film because I'm reviewing a new film emulsion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like obviously film, it's like okay, fine. But I think I picked up my Fujifilm X Pro 3 once because there was one day where I was just so sick of staring at screens.
Yeah.
So I was just like, all right, I'm just going to use the OVF on this thing. Just going to go around. Ended up going to a bar, started
Mm-hmm.
conversations with people. I have the first shot. Brett got the second one. I'm getting the second one on Thursday. So we're both being pretty safe.
Yep.
Also, Brett doesn't drink. So
Right.
there's that. But yeah, no. When I came to just like photo walking around, that's the only thing I really want to have on me. With Canon, I own the EOS R and I own the 51.2.
Mm-hmm.
Great combination. The 51.2 is a little front heavy for that whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's pretty easy to go out and make images that will wow you, no problem. Sony system is small and light. The A7R3 that I have here, along with like a 5518 and a 3518 are pretty fantastic. I'm just not inspired by the Sony system.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it too. Anytime I have a Sony camera around, it's like I'm not excited to pick it up and use it. It doesn't inspire me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of that just comes down to ergonomics. How a camera feels in the hand is huge for me.
I was shooting with this bad boy yesterday.
Oh, that's a
The
beautiful
Fujifilm
lens.
Natura
Yeah.
S. Check this out. Like, that's a 24 millimeter f1.9.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they can make point and shoots like this, I'm sure they can do it today. They
Oh,
just
for sure.
haven't.
Yet.
But yeah, no, I mean, the element system is very good. It's very usable. I think it's now about time that they start doing even more. And I think a
Mm-hmm.
big part of this might be not using Sony sensors anymore because you know there's just so many cameras that have the same image quality because of that. Having
Hmm.
a different lens is not really enough. Um, it seems like with Leica, they work with other manufacturers sometimes
Hmm.
because they have a couple sensors that no one else has. So I think that maybe the rest of the L-mount alliance should play into that a little bit more. Sigma also has a few of their own sensors that
Hmm.
they've made. They've had their own problems for sure. And with the new FPL, it's called.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's the same sensor as the A7R4.
yeah. Exactly the same one.
Yeah, I just don't think they should be recycling other people's sensors at all
That.
anymore. I think that they need enough to be able to differentiate from one another,
Hmm.
to put more variety in the market. It's just one of the ways I feel.
Completely agree. Yep,
Yeah. It also makes our job a little bit more interesting.
that's for sure.
Yeah. Checking out the chats. Oh wow, there's a lot that I missed. Show it again was Christine. Ditto on heavy, thanks. Eek, she was saying at one point. I'm same with Sony, great cameras, but they just don't click with me. Yeah, man. They feel like computers. That are like this. And like this sometimes. I'm so jealous of that Natura. That Natura. Oh man, that is the greatest party camera ever. Um Larry is asking, first off, James said thanks, you're welcome. Larry is asking, what do you guys think of the Nikon Z6 II? We reviewed it. I think we published that review.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, it's not a major upgrade. It's not a major upgrade. We Hillary Gargonis, our reviews editor, reviewed it. She doesn't really come on the show. She does 5-minute camera reviews with us. I
Hmm.
don't think we did an episode on that camera. That it's basically just like keeping up with the rest of the industry in some ways, and in some ways just lagging behind. Nikon's strength is with its lenses. Like the
Hmm.
lenses are standard compared to everyone else, but also compared to everyone else, are some of the best out there.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
not doing anything special the way that like Sigma does or Canon does. Canon has a 28 to 70 f2. They have 51.2. They have well, everyone has a 51.2 now. They have an 85 one too. Their 24 to 105 has so many stops of image stabilization in it. So they're doing things that are far unique and different, and Nikon just needs to find a way to catch up. Yeah. There any other questions? Doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like anyone's interacting with the chat over here as well too. So yeah, I guess we're all set then, right?
I think so. Absolutely.